This is Jimmy with Progressive Performance, and today I'd like to talk about teaching the conventional deadlift. Now, when we teach the deadlift to a new athlete or client, we first have to determine where on this continuum between a pure hinge and a pure squat this movement lies. Now, when we look at different movements in the gym, we got to define them. And when we define the difference between a pure hinge and a pure squat, we have to look at a couple of different things. We have to look at hip angle, knee angle, and shin angle. When we're looking at these mechanics and defining these movements, I'd like to define the pure hinge mechanic as maximal hip hinge with a minimal knee bend and a vertical tibia, where a pure squat is a maximal hip hinge, maximal knee bend, and a forward tibia. The conventional deadlift lies somewhere in the middle there, closer to the hinge than the squat, but there still is tibial movement and knee flexion in a conventional deadlift. Now, to make things easier for your athlete or client to learn, you have to take pieces out of that movement and teach them more simple patterns before you introduce more joint movements. That's why I like to always start with a Romanian deadlift when I'm teaching my clients how to deadlift, because that is one of the most pure versions of a hinge you're going to find. The reason why I use a Romanian deadlift and not a stiff-legged deadlift is because most of the clients you're going to see are not going to be able to bend down and touch their toes with locked legs and keep a straight torso and a neutral spine. So the Romanian deadlift allows them to get that mobility without having to sacrifice joint position. Now, once we've mastered this movement, we can then move on to either a kettlebell or a dumbbell floor pull. Now, when we pull from the floor with a kettlebell or a dumbbell, we're going to use kind of a hybrid sumo conventional pull where the weight is in between the legs and the legs are a little bit more spread. We're going to start to introduce the knee flexion and forward tibia in this position to become more like a conventional pull. From this point, we just need to add more load. You're limited by your tool here to get enough load on this movement. So when we move it to the trap bar, you can get a lot more load on the trap bar. It just moves the weight from the inside of the body to the outside of the body, centered over the hips. Great movement for athletic potential and driving that powerful hip extension. Now, once we get to this point, we can make our decision if we really want to teach the conventional pull or not. The conventional pull is not the end-all, be-all of athletic performance. If you're going to be a strength athlete, you have to conventional pull. But the trap bar and the Romanian deadlift do a really good job of building that hip extension moment and building strong hamstrings, quads, and glutes to produce a better sprinting mechanic, better running, to really produce that force and just make an athlete stronger. Better rate of force development is going to be greater when you have more strength in these positions. It doesn't have to be this position. If you do use this progression to progress someone up to a conventional deadlift, a lot of the time you're going to get a great conventional deadlift the first time because they have this framework built in and they've learned how to control their body along the way. So this is the progression I use to teach the deadlift at Progressive Performance. Hope this helps. See ya.